Good morning, angels and others. This is day 11 of 365 days of podcasts for this year. And a few little challenges today. I tried 5 times at home and lack of internet. I tried just up the road there by the water, and the wind was and here the wind is less. You can hear the cicadas. And I hope they won't disturb this very, very important message. So yesterday, I told a little story, a true story, about giving the idea that the finding of our life purpose doesn't have to be a grand mission. It doesn't have to be millions of dollars spent on courses and I don't know, meditations and all sorts of books and whatever. And my suggestion is that your life purpose is actually what you're doing right now. So just a little, so yesterday's one was basically about a man who just listened to a little tiny prompt, put his hand on a girl's shoulder and said, "Well done." That changed her life. And so today it's about yes. So I used to run personal development workshops, helping people align with and activate their soul purpose. And then in 1999, I received an email from a lady in South Africa, a Diane Lang, who I'd never heard of. And she asked me if I would speak at an international AIDS conference in a year's time in Port Elizabeth in South Africa. So as I always do, when an opportunity is presented, I always say yes. And then later on I went, oh my God, go hot and cold and think, I don't know anything about South Africa, I know nothing about AIDS. Anyway, that passed, and so we got on and so I went to South Africa and was there for 3 months. With Diane, I spoke at the conference along with others, and then she and I and some others, a group, we went out into the Big Karoo, which is closer for desert, the big desert, and worked in the townships, the small villages, if you like, giving workshops on AIDS. So Diane and I co-facilitated. And she told me at one stage that apparently I was the first white person to give sex education in South Africa. Because the black people in general don't talk about sex. It's just, you don't mention it. And so, there you go. So I was there for 3 months. A wonderful time, life-changing for me and for lots of others. Popped into Australia on the way back for another 3 months. And then back to New Zealand. And a few months later after that, I was talking to a friend, Linda, and she asked me if I knew how it was that I got to South Africa. One of those little questions that had sat in my mind for a year or so. And she told me. So somebody had come to one of my workshops in Tauranga and absolutely loved it, and told somebody else in Tauranga about my workshop or workshops. And that person had a friend in Wellington, many hours away. Told that friend in Wellington about my amazing workshops. The person in Wellington had another friend in Auckland, the other end of the island, told them about my workshops. And the person in Wellington had a sister in South Africa. That was Diane Lang. And Diane had told me that as soon as she heard my name, she just knew I was the right person to contact for coming and being one of the speakers, and then co-facilitating the workshops. She didn't know anything about my experience or my qualifications or anything. And in fact, there was none. I knew nothing about the whole subject of AIDS. So I could not have imagined that chain of events. I could not have imagined or engineered that chain of events from me, just one day I said to my wife, I'd really love to run personal development workshops. And she said, well, there's a school just up the road, why don't you go there and see if you can do night classes? So I hopped in my little car and went there and talked to to Sue Hawkins, was the lady who looked after night classes, and she said, come back and we do 17-week courses. And so I went away and came back 2 hours later with a 17-week course, which kind of surprised me and impressed her. And so from there I started running these courses, did them for 6 or 7 years. And so, like the man yesterday, it was just an impulse. I thought, I really want to do this. And my wife encouraged me. And so I started running the courses. And then a whole series of events happened 8 years later, and I said yes. And I would submit, Your Honour, that the best way to live a bigger life, to live your purpose, is to listen to those little impulses, to touch someone on the shoulder, to smile at someone at a cafe, to pick something up that an old person has dropped, help someone across the road, I don't know, tell a silly joke to somebody. Follow those tiny impulses. Join up with a club where it may not be logical, but it just feels like a good idea. I don't know. Follow the impulses and say yes. I don't know the rules of life. I don't think anyone does. But I will tell you that those two things, following your tiny impulses and saying yes, have worked for me and have worked for hundreds of other people who have done my courses. And so how do you know what your tiny impulse is? Sometimes people are so, I think, stuck in a mental thing, and that's not where it comes from, but so many people are stuck in a mental bind, if you like, that they can't think what to do next. So I'm going to give you the same exercise that I gave you yesterday, and the word peace comes into this, and peace is very important, and I'll tell you all about peace tomorrow. So just bear in mind that the word peace is important. Use it. You don't need to know how it works or why it works. It does. You don't know, maybe you don't know how a car works, but we can all drive them. So the exercise is simply this: to find some place where you can just be with yourself without being interrupted, probably seated, feet on the ground, possibly take your shoes off, maybe close your eyes, and you can do this for as long as you like, for as many times as you like during each day, morning, evening, midday, whatever. Just when you feel like it, when you have a moment at work, you just can retreat to the toilet or wherever and do this. And it's incredibly simple. So all you do is still your mind, and as you breathe in the word clarity. You can say it or not say it, just maybe hold it in your mind. Just breathe in clarity. Clarity. And then when you breathe out confusion. Breathe out confusion. Confusion. Breathe in clarity. Breathe out confusion. So I'd suggest you do this at least 21 times. 21 ins, clarities, 21 outs, confusions. And when you've done that, the rule is there are no rules. Just go about your day. You've breathed in clarity, you've breathed out of confusion. I was confused. And know you've done it. And do it again when you feel like it. And again. And again. And you can do it 100 times, 100 ins and outs if you like. 50 if you like. Up to you. And between the breathing in and out, clarity, of confusion, just hold the word peace in your open palm. In a sense, in your mind. Hold the word peace, because you know that you can hold more sand on an open palm than you can in a clenched fist. So in the openness, we hold more. So just hold the word peace. Just think of it whenever you think of it. Try and remind yourself, peace. Go to the toilet, peace. Start to eat, peace. Start to work, sit down at your desk or hop in your truck, peace. Hop out of your truck, peace. Just hold the word and allow it to just be with you. And I'll tell you why peace is crucial to making right steps forward in our lives for decision making. So in this moment, I hope this is working. It keeps saying slow connection, but in this moment, I wish you clarity, I wish you peace, and I wish you the release of confusion. So we'll end on clarity and peace for today.